Welcome all to yet another episode of your favorite podcast. Targo, what you drinking today?
I am drinking another High Noon vodka soda. This one is passion fruit flavored. Actually, isn't too bad. Pretty much tastes like juice.
Yeah. Seltzer's a seltzer, right? I today am drinking a honey kolsch from Rogue Brewing. It's very good. It's a little sweet for a beer, but it's tasty.
Don't think I would like it. Not the biggest fan of kolsches or honey, so.
Yeah, well, I love German beers and anything that's darker than what you're drinking. So, as long as it's not an IPA. Anyways, those are our brews. Let's get to some banter. Welcome to Brews and Banter. Make sure to check us out on all of our socials, TikTok, Instagram. Check out our Facebook group. Redbubble. Check out our sweet merch. Help us keep doing this. Check us out on all of the podcast platforms. Make sure to check out our YouTube page and help support the channel and help us keep doing this. All right, Targo. Very, very, very eventful week. Let's kick it off with the Carabao Cup. It's the first leg of the semifinals. Southampton and Newcastle played on the 24th. Newcastle winning 1-0. What'd you think?
This was a feisty game, man. There was 9 yellow cards, a red card in this game. Yeah. I think in that game, Joe Linton probably missed one of the biggest sitters I've almost ever seen. It was a bad one.
Yeah.
And of course, he's the one who gets the goal off a great run from Isaac. So I think it was a well-deserved victory for Newcastle. I
agree. There's going to be a lot of these for them this season, but Alexander Isak finally showing while he's healthy how good he is. So
yeah.
All right. On 25th, we had Manchester United against Nottingham Forest. Man United ran away with this one 3-0. Man, was Rashford good in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he had scored the first goal from a pretty nice little mesmerizing run there, finishing it off. And then something else I didn't realize was Brennan Johnson, man, how fast he is. He outran Aaron Wan-Bissaka in a sprint in that game. That was interesting.
Yeah, I was very unexpected for me. And then, yeah, Rashford had quite a few mesmerizing runs and happened to only get one goal on the end of it. But, man, is he looking good right now.
Yeah, and Wout Weghorst got his first goal for Man United.
Yeah, what you'd expect from him off of a rebound. So,
yeah.
It's good. That's why they signed him. All right. Off to the FA Cup, staying
for
in England.
Tap-ins. That's what he's there for, huh?
Exactly. All right. On the 27th, we had the first showdown of the year, Manchester City against Arsenal. Manchester City winning in this one 1-0. It was a pretty cagey affair that was very back and forth. What'd you think?
Yeah, and, Arsenal didn't start some of their starters that they would normally. So that you kind of tell that. But Leandro Trossard for Arsenal, definitely impressed on his first start for Arsenal.
Yeah, full debut.
Yep.
Yeah. Arsenal made 6 changes. City pretty much, besides taking out Ederson, started a full-strength lineup. And
yeah, they had De Bruyne and Haaland.
Arsenal were the better squad in the first half until they took out Saka and Partey, and then City put on Alvarez, and it was a different game. But funniest thing for me was that goal. It definitely looked like it was a pass.
It wasn't a pass.
To Erling Haaland, who was right there on the back post, just happened to sneak in my opinion.
However, wasn't a pass. I think it's
still Nathan Ake
shoot that.
Still Nathan Ake got a rare goal.
Rare goal on his weak foot, center back.
And terrible marking from Albert Sambi-Lokonga, who just looks like a chicken with his head cut off running around midfield. So on to the 28th, we had Preston North End against Tottenham. Tottenham running out 3-0. Heung-min Son looking like he finally found his form again, scoring a brace.
Yeah, probably pretty easy against the Preston North End team that didn't look very good.
No.
This is all one-way traffic.
Yeah, and then Danjuma getting his first goal on his full debut.
Yeah.
We'll get into that whole scenario later, but yeah, one-way traffic. 28th, Manchester United played again. They played Reading, won 3-1. This one wasn't really close either.
Nope. Casemiro gets a couple. Fred gets a nice little flick goal. Reading kind of got one back off a corner and end of the game. And good old Andy Carroll, man, got a red card in that game.
I didn't even know he was still playing, I'll be honest.
I didn't either. I was like, wow, that's Andy Carroll. Then I had to look up how old he is.
I recognize that man bun anywhere. Got a little touch of gray in it now, but, whatever. Glad he's still playing. Next up on the 29th, we had the big game of the weekend. Brighton against Liverpool. Brighton won 3-0 last time out. This time, a lot closer. They won 2-1 off of a brilliant goal by Matoma.
Yeah, he got the winner there late in the game. I think it was in stoppage time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, Liverpool, this was their chance to kind of redeem themselves from that earlier loss to Brighton, and they did not. Salah missed the one-on-one with the goalie. I mean, he's just out of form right now. Yeah. And then, their first goal was a deflected shot off Dunk. I don't think he knew much about it. Kind of hits off his foot, goes past wrong footing Allison, goes past him.
I mean, the only bright spark really for Liverpool in this game was Harvey Elliott.
Yeah. I mean, even Cody Gakpo didn't look like doing much.
No, it's a shame to see, honestly.
Yeah. But they need to turn it around. Their form is bad.
Yeah, and to hear Jurgen Klopp come out and say they're not going to sign anybody in the January transfer window is just going to be problems.
Disappointing if you're a Liverpool fan.
Very much so. All right, and then my game to watch this weekend on the 29th, we had Wrexham against Sheffield United at the Racecourse Ground. Man, was this your stereotypical FA Cup battle? Non-league Wrexham against championship side Sheffield United. Ended 3-3. Man, this was back and forth.
That was a fun game.
Sheffield United scored after 62 seconds. Wrexham comes back, scores 2 goals. Sheffield United equalized in the 65th minute. Got a red card in the 71st. Paul Mullins scores in the 86th.
You thought it was the winner, man.
Thought it was. Ryan Reynolds celebrating.
Yep.
Paul Mullins, fun fact, already has 28 goals this season, by the way. It's insane.
That's who Man City should have signed. Forget Erling Haaland.
And then at the death, 95th minute, off a corner, Sheffield United equalizes, and Ryan Reynolds finally gets to see what soccer and football is all about, with joy and jubilation and heartbreak within the matter of
man, isn't that football, man? You can be so happy and excited one second and then just defeated the next, or vice versa, So
the joys of the FA Cup, especially because we thought, finally Wrexham was going to make it to the round of 16, beating 2 championship sides in a row, and then they pooped it.
I would already say they've overperformed on what everyone thought they would do. So
yeah, they definitely looked really good, though, in my opinion. Their replay is going to be played between the 7th and the 9th of February. But the round of 16 draw is on the 30th, so we'll see who they will play after the replay. All right.
If they win that game.
Germany, the German Bundesliga. Match day 18. On the 24th, we had Schalke against RB Leipzig. Schalke, bottom of the table. They played like it because Leipzig drummed them 6-1.
Yeah, that was ugly if you're a Schalke fan. But man, Danny Olmo scored a beauty of a goal in that game. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's kind of a chip over the goalie. It was real nice.
Yeah, those chips they pull at the heartstrings a little bit. They're something special and take some sort of skill to pull off.
Yeah.
On the 24th, we also had Bayern Munich against Cologne. Somehow this one ended 1-1.
Yeah, Cologne scored in the first 4 minutes or so of that game. And then it took a freaking wonder strike, man, from Joshua Kimmich in the 90th to tie it up. If you have not seen this goal, go check it out. It is a beauty.
Whew. That was a rocket.
I don't know how. What's his name? Eric Maximum Choupo-Moting, man. You remember him when he used to play for Stoke?
Yeah.
couldn't get a game in for Stoke in the championship and somehow gets to PSG. Now is at Bayern Munich. I don't know how he plays for this Bayern Munich team, man. Because Sadio Mane's out, that's why. But yeah,
I don't know either.
He doesn't look good.
It baffles me that, what a career he has had as far as teams he's played for and money he's raked in, but yet skill-wise, you would think he should still be playing for Stoke.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he has one of the worst misses also, I think, ever for PSG. The one where the ball was going in and he somehow kicks it out. Kicks it out of the goal. Yeah. I just remember that video.
It's one of those things you never forget because you're like, I could have scored that crawling with my head.
Yeah.
Anyways, on to the 25th, we had Mainz against Dortmund. Dortmund runs out 2-1 winners on this one. Gio Reyna with yet another game-winning goal off the bench.
Good for him. Silencing some of these critics because there's a lot of news circling around him and his family. Just saw his dad resigned from his Austin FC position in the MLS.
Yeah, the the entire U.S. soccer national team situation is just, there's nobody there. Everybody's quitting. So
yeah,
all right,
rightfully so.
Yeah,
clean house.
We'll see. I mean, it makes for interesting storytelling. So as soon as we hear more, we'll let you know. On the 25th, we also had Freiburg against Frankfurt. At the time, this was second against fourth. This one ends 1-1.
Yeah, kind of a draw, doing no favors for either team. Now they're sitting in 5th and 6th, respectively. Freiburg in 5th, Frankfurt in 6th.
Yeah. Crazy to me that the drop from second
close at the top there in the Bundesliga.
Yeah. Kolo Muani, man, is he a man on fire since the World Cup?
Yeah. Yeah, he got that goal for Frankfurt.
Yeah, I'm surprised some of these bigger teams haven't come in to try to sign him yet, but
I think they will at the end of the season.
Yeah, probably in the summer. We'll see. All right, on the 22nd, RB Leipzig was back in action against Stuttgart. They win 2-1 with a brace from Dominik Szoboszlai.
I'm glad you pronounced that, not me. Every time I read his name, I'm like, Zobolozzi?
Is Szoboszlai.
That's a hard one. Moving on.
That's just fun to say. Next up on the 28th, we had Bayern Munich against Eintracht Frankfurt. I thought this game was going to be very, very entertaining. Ends 1-1.
Yeah, Sane gets the first goal in the 34th minute, and then good old Kolo Muani, man, scores in the 69th minute. He looks really good. He beats Upamecano and slots it past Jan Sommer. And yeah, Kolo Muani, man, he has the most assists in the Bundesliga right now with 10.
Yeah, and that makes it 17 goal involvements in 16 games in the Bundesliga for him. So he's a man on fire. I certainly, before the World Cup, didn't really know much about him, but now he is must-watch. All right. Next up, we have on the 29th, Bayern Leverkusen against Dortmund. Dortmund wins 2-0.
Yeah, it was a close game. Dortmund got the goal in the 33rd minute. Karim Adeyemi. And then Edmund Tapsoba with an own goal in the 53rd. But it was close. Leverkusen had some chances. They got a good team there.
Yeah.
Newly appointed head coach Xavi Alonso, and he's appointed in October. I think he's doing some good things with them.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great player, so I can only imagine he's going to do great things as a coach. So, be fun to find out. All right, Targo, off to Spain and the Copa del Rey. What do we have in action?
On the 25th, we had Barca against Real Sociedad, and Barca walks away with a 1-0 win on that one. Dembele with the winner. Definitely think the goalie should have saved it, but that's how it goes. There's also a red card in that game against Sociedad, and man, Alexander Sorloth missed a sitter in this one, which is not like him. He has been putting them away for Sociedad this season, so that was disappointing if you're a Sociedad fan.
He's been a man on fire this season, and to see him miss that is very uncharacteristic. So,
And then on the 26th in the Copa del Rey, we had Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid in a Madrid derby. And Alvaro Morata gets the goal scoring underway against his former club.
I mean, Morata, the guy who just doesn't go away, but plays for every team under the sun.
Right.
Still scores, so that's why he plays for every team under the sun. So,
and then Rodrigo gets a goal in the 79th minute for Real Madrid off a beautiful dribble and kind of an outside of the boot shot. If you haven't seen that goal, check it out. It's a good one. So then it goes to extra time, and this is where things kind of got ugly if you're an Atletico Madrid fan. Seven Savic gets a red card in the 99th minute, and then it's all Real Madrid. They score another 2 goals, goal by Karim Benzema and Vinicius to win it 3-1.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a high-pressure moment for Vinicius, and he just takes the ball across the box, slots it home between the defender's legs, game winner in extra time of extra time.
So, yeah. And then in La Liga for match day 19, on the 28th, we had Girona versus Barcelona. Barcelona won 1-0. Ousmane Dembele came off injured in this game in the 25th minute, so that's a little bit of a worrying sign if you're a Barcelona fan. But Pedri comes on for him, and Pedri gets the winning goal. So there you go.
Yeah.
On the 29th, we had Osasuna versus Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid win this one, 1-0. Saul gives Atletico the win. And they pretty much dominated that game. Wasn't very close. And then on the 29th... go ahead.
Osasuna's been a club on form recently. And they outshot and had more possession than Atletico Madrid did in this game. So
yeah. But the big game of the weekend... On the 29th, it was Real Madrid against Real Sociedad, second versus third, and nothing could come between them as this was a 0-0 draw. And I will say, man, Vinny Jr., he missed some open chances in that game.
Yeah, he did. And this is a game I fully expect there to be some goals. I
thought there would be too.
Surprised.
Both teams are scoring goals, but that Real Sociedad goalkeeper, man, he made some good saves in that game.
Yeah.
So that draw doesn't do Madrid any favors. They're sitting in second, 5 points behind Barcelona, who are in first.
Yikes. Is it time to push the panic button for Madrid at this point?
I don't know if it's time to push the panic button, but they're not going to be happy being 5 points adrift. I mean, you still have the Champions League, obviously, and they're still in the Copa del Rey, but yeah, they need to start winning some games and hoping Barca drops some points.
Yeah. And Barcelona, I mean, their defense, they've got the best defense in all of Europe right now. It's tough to score against them. So
they're just grinding out results.
Yeah. And that's what makes champions, right? Okay. Off to Italy, the Serie A. On the 28th, we had Cremonese against Inter Milan. Inter Milan wins this one 2-1.
Yeah, should have been not that close on paper, you would have thought. Inter Milan sitting in second place now after this. They beat Cremonese, who are in last. Man, poor Cremonese have not won a single game this season.
Yeah, 8 draws and 12 losses.
So that's why you expect Inter to get the win. But it was a hard-fought win. That first goal that Cremonese scored, because they scored first in the 11th minute, man, it was a golazo from outside the box. It was a beauty. Go check that one out if you haven't seen it. But then Lautaro Martinez gets a brace in this game, scoring in the 21st and 65th minute, and that was all she wrote.
And all she wrote. All right, 29th. We had probably one of the surprise results of the weekend. So Swallow won against AC Milan 5-2.
At the San Siro, too.
Woo! Yikes. Yeah.
And this was after Milan got thumped 4-0 by Lazio midweek, so they've let in 9 goals in 2 games. That's
very
bad.
troubling.
Now, I would say the alarm bells might be going off there in Milan.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because that result drops them all the way down to 5th, and they were sitting in 2nd not very long ago.
Yeah.
But that result definitely would make Napoli happy. who are sitting in first. Divock Origi, golazo in this one.
Yeah,
What did you
there
think
at
of
the
that
end.
one? Better watch it.
But Domenico Berardi, man, he had a wonderful game with 3 assists and a goal in this game.
Yeah, dominating performance, and Milan probably feels a little unlucky having 2 goals taken away for offside after VAR reviews, but, if it's offsides on VAR, it's offsides. So.
Yeah.
All right, on 29th, we had recently dropped down the table to 10th, Juve against Monza. They lost and continued their slide. This one ended 2-0.
Yeah, Juve now sitting in 13th place after this loss. And it wasn't even close. Like, Monza scored in the 18th and 39th minute of the first half, and they just dominated that first half. And this is the double. They did the double over Juve this season.
I feel like that the first game wasn't even that long ago.
And so it's, not good for Juve. They did play better in the second half, but not enough.
Yeah, that loss drops Juve down to 13th place. Wow, what a fall they have had in the last week and a half. All right.
Yeah.
And the big game in Italy of the weekend on the 29th, we had Napoli against AS Roma. This one didn't disappoint. Napoli running out victors in this one, 2-1.
Yeah, it was Jose Mourinho's birthday this week. I'm sure Roma would have liked to have gotten a win for his birthday, but Napoli playing spoilers on that. First goal scored by Victor Osimhen, man. It was a beauty. He had like a volley that he roofed it. So if you haven't seen that goal, check that one out. But then, Steven El Shaarawy equalizes in the 75th, and Giovanni Simeone gets the winner in the 86th minute.
There you go. That puts Napoli 13 points clear at the top over Inter on 53 points, with Inter on 40. I mean, Napoli's just running away with this title race at this point.
They are.
All right. Well, that's it for the games this weekend. Now we get into the fun part. This is our transfer day, end of the transfer window episode. So first we're going to go with our done deals, and then we're going to get into what every team in the Premier League needs to really take a step up for the rest of the season. As far as our done deals go, we called it, Targo. Sean Dyche announced as head coach of Everton. That was my number one target. Woo! All right. And probably the biggest transfer saga, or at least weirdest one, of the transfer window. We got Arnaut Danjuma going to Spurs from Villarreal on loan. But earlier, like not even 24 hours earlier, he was taking his medical and getting his media pictures taken at Everton.
Yeah, Spurs swooped in to snake this one from Everton.
It was one of those where, agent gets called or player gets called, one of the two, and he says, wait, don't submit final paperwork.
I got a team willing to pay you $5 more a week here.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Spurs, Pedro Porro signed for $45 million from Sporting Lisbon. This gives him much better, makes him more dynamic, I guess, at right back.
Not a fan of Emerson.
Much, yeah.
Current Spurs right back.
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing he's done this season is score against City and piss them off. So,
but yeah, this was a good job on Spurs, man. Getting a couple signings in here before the window closes. So they'll definitely be hoping this quality will help keep them into the top 4 in the Premier League.
Yeah, and it's very uncharacteristic of them as well. So it's good to see as far as Antonio Conte is concerned. All right, next up, we had another transfer drama. Anthony Gordon goes to Newcastle from Everton. This one was announced that Newcastle was interested in Anthony Gordon, and then Anthony Gordon refused to practice or play for Everton ever again.
Yeah, he put in a transfer request.
Just shows you the sign of the times, I guess.
Yeah, so they bought him for £40 million, $55 million.
But He's 21 years
stud,
old,
though, man. I think he's a great young player, so I think that's a coup for Newcastle.
Very much so. And he's going to be really good for them for years to come.
Yeah.
So. All right. Next up,
too.
we go over to Leeds. They signed Weston McKennie from Juventus on loan with an option to buy for 33 million euros, joining American midfielders Tyler Adams and Brandon Aronson and coach Jesse Marsh.
The new
this
Team
has
America
a little
in the
bit
Premier
of a
League.
feeling of Ted Lasso, doesn't it?
I was saying the new Team America in the Premier League, man. I thought that was
Right?
Fulham. Now it's becoming Leeds.
Right? Shoot. But what a pickup and a coup for Leeds. I mean, their midfield, arguably is one of the better midfields in the Premier League at this point with the addition of Weston McKennie.
Yeah, I wonder if he even gets into that midfield.
Yeah, you would think he would, just because of him and Tyler Adams have been playing together since they were 14. Just the chemistry between them, and then Brandon Aronson's been playing with the two of them for a while on the U.S. national team. So I was saying Weston McKennie was the signing Leeds needed, as we'll find out later. So very, very nice to hear that I called that one too. All right.
I don't think he does much for him, though, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know. I just don't rate Weston McKennie very highly. So,
Well, maybe this is his opportunity to change your mind.
we'll see.
We'll see. I definitely
he
rate
will,
Tyler
but-
Adams very highly. So
Huh?
I said I rate Tyler Adams very highly. So
I know you do.
Weston McKennie, to be determined. I think his hair is flashier than his game is. So, next up we got Tete, signs from Shakhtar, who was on loan at Lyon, to Leicester City, giving them a much-needed player on an attack at winger.
Yeah, they definitely needed a winger there at Leicester.
Yeah.
Whether this guy will be the answer, I don't know. I haven't seen much of him, if I'm being honest, so we'll see what he brings to Leicester. Hopefully he can improve that squad.
And then Chelsea continued their mad spending spree, signed another player in Malo Gusto from Lyon. This one, he doesn't join until the summer. Goes back on loan to Lyon. He's 19 years old as a right back. Very promising. I think they're really signing him as a backup for Reece James, just to kind of make their team a little bit younger, with Azpilicueta probably leaving in the summer, I would say.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
So, next up, we got Fulham signs Fluminense midfielder Andre on loan with obligation to buy for 20 million, giving them more depth in midfield. And then the World Cup wonder kid Azzedine Ounahi signs for Olympique Marseille from Angers for 10 million.
I feel like that's a steal, man. 10 million
100%.
for Unahi?
Yeah.
Good piece of business there by Marseille.
And kind of a coup over Napoli, who have been in the running to sign him for the longest time, it seemed like.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Targo, transfer window closes 3 p.m. Pacific on the 31st, so let's discuss what teams need before the transfer window closes and what players we think will fit best for these squads. Alphabetical order, Arsenal. They need a midfielder.
They do. They definitely need a, kind of cover for Thomas Partey, someone in that midfield. I don't know who they can get here before this transfer window closes is the big question. I don't think there's a lot available out there where you're not going to overpay. Obviously, they've been linked with Declan Rice, who I think would be a fantastic signing. I don't think they get him in January.
No.
I know they've been looking at Moises Caicedo, but honestly, I think a good pickup would be Amadou Onana from Everton.
Yeah.
I think he could be a good pickup. I think Ruben Neves could also be a good pickup from Wolves.
Yeah, and they've been linked with him for what seems like forever.
But one that I think might go under the radar would be that Ryan Gravenberch. He's at Bayern Munich. They bought him from Ajax, but I think they could get him on loan to provide good cover. He impressed me when I watched him with Ajax.
Yeah.
He's not getting a whole lot of playing time at Bayern Munich. He's only 20 years old. So I think he could be a good one for Arsenal to get here before the transfer window closes.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, with all of those that you mentioned, all of them being 25 and under, I mean, you're kind of looking at, the next replacements for Xhaka and Partey at this point that can also provide adequate cover right now with, Xhaka's, 29, 30? And
something like that.
Partey is 30 going on 31. So they don't have many years left. You want some depth in midfield. Sambi Lokonga is not going to do it, and El Nini seems to be hurt when you need him most. I think Moises Caicedo, to me, is the best option. They're going to have to overpay for anybody that they get at this point, just because they're in first. Everybody knows that. They need another midfielder. Everybody knows that, so their demands are going to go higher and higher. I think Arsenal finally get one over on Chelsea and pull out this Moises Caicedo deal, whether it be, with the remainder of that Mudryk money. But I think Caicedo and Declan Rice as backups for Xhaka and Partey, eventually overtaking them. I mean, that sets up that midfield for years to come.
I think another good signing would be that midfielder from Real Sociedad.
Martin Zubamendi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'd be another good one.
He came out publicly and said he's not leaving this season. It wouldn't be till the summer. So he would be a great signing, especially if you can't get like a Declan Rice and he decides to go to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And he'd be much cheaper. It's not going to be 70, 80 million for a Declan Rice. But Caicedo probably will be in that ballpark at
I don't think he's worth that much.
21 years old. But
I'd rather take a Declan Rice over Caicedo.
Personally, I think they're going to go for both. I don't think this changes their summer transfer window at all, especially getting back into the Champions League and potentially winning the league. That's a lot of money they're going to get to be able to put towards players. So, all right, enough talk about our beloved Arsenal. Let's get on to other clubs. Aston Villa. Man, do they need a center back at this point.
Well, they got some coming back from injury, which I think will help. Ogbonna's coming back. Kurt Zuma's coming back. But yeah, before that, they were hurting.
Struggling. I think a guy who's been linked to the Premier League for what seems like forever, and mostly teams like Tottenham and Manchester United, is Pau Torres for Villarreal. He's not getting any younger, but he's playing consistently just as good. I think this fits right in Unai Emery's breadbasket of signing Spanish players, especially one that used to play for him. I think he's a perfect fit.
What's funny is I went with his center back partner, Juan Foyth, who also plays for Villarreal, but he's got some Premier League experience, which I think is good. He played at Tottenham. And, he's 25 years old, so he's a little bit younger than Pau Torres. So I thought he would be a good fit.
I mean, either way, center backs from Villarreal right now are probably the best fit for Unai Emery because he knows them and knows how they play. So
yeah.
All right, next up we got Bournemouth. I think they need a center midfielder.
Yeah.
I think a guy who's been linked to the top clubs in the Premier League for a while, but has just become a bench player for Lyon at this point, Hassim Aouar. He's only going to cost you $12 million at this point, which is far and wide from the 50, 60 mil he was quoted for Arsenal a couple of years ago. But man, he would be a stud for them. Something they really need as far as more of a attacking midfielder type.
Do you think they could get him, though? Would be the real question.
I think so. Just the lure of the Premier League and better wages and more playing time for him probably is enough. Maybe a clause of another big team comes in, they let him go.
I think, he'd be great for Bournemouth because they definitely need someone to help create chances in that team.
Yeah.
So a midfielder I think they should go after. I don't think they'll get him. I don't think he'll leave his current team, but it would be James Ward-Prowse. I think if Southampton end up going down and Bournemouth stay up, they should go for him. I think he'd be a fantastic signing for that Bournemouth team.
I'll be honest with you. Anybody that's probably fifth and below, James Ward-Prowse walks into their team pretty much. He's a stud. He'd be a fantastic signing for Bournemouth. Unfortunately, because he's a lifelong Southampton Academy graduate. I don't think he leaves, but if they get relegated, you might be right.
That Southampton team, they like to sell their best players. So
That is true. They've been known to do that. All right, on to a team that, well, they're kind of unpredictable when it comes to transfer market. You got Brentford. I think they need a center mid. What do you think?
yeah, I think depth there would help them.
Yeah, or even just upgrading from what they have. I think
up top they're doing fantastic with Mbomo and Ivan Toney.
Yeah, I think that Amadou Onana from Everton would be a great pickup for them. Whether or not they have the funds to pay for him, quoted about 50 mil for him. I don't know. Whether he wants to leave Everton or not, I don't know. But I think he would be a fantastic pickup for them.
I think a fun one that Brentford should go after would be Kieran Dewsbury Hall. Currently plays at Leicester. He's pretty. How old is he?
24.
24. So he's still pretty young. But man, he's fun to watch. I like him for Leicester. I think Leicester should try to keep on to him. But if Brentford could sneak him away from there, I think that'd be a great signing for him.
Yeah. Another one you mentioned here that I think is probably even more interesting is young Jacob Ramsey, who has lit the Premier League on fire the last couple of years for Aston Villa.
Yeah. I think he would also be a good one there for that Brentford team because he's athletic, he's quick, gets around the field well, and that Brentford team, man, that's how they play.
Exactly. And on top of that, he's only 21. So
yeah, one for the future.
One for the future as well. So you can, spending money on him, you can definitely warrant that. Okay, on to a team that seems to be losing players left and right. Brighton. I think they need a striker, and we got some good ones for you.
Yeah, I was trying to think even who their strikers were. You think of Danny Welbeck still being there?
Yeah. Danny Welbeck. And was that? Is it Evan Ferguson?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'd have to look.
I know he started for
their
them
wingers
in the
are fantastic.
Cup.
Their midfield's pretty great. Their defense has been stellar.
Yeah.
They have a fantastic goalie. So I think, that just one missing piece would be a clinical finisher up top.
Yeah, and that critical finisher, too, it would almost guarantee them a European place the way that they're playing right now. So I think a good one to go for, you can get him on loan or probably on the cheap. Been doing it for years. Moussa Dembele from Lyon. This guy seems to have been around for forever, and he's still only 25.
Yeah.
But he scores, on average, 20 to 30 goals a season in Liga.
I think he's having a little bit slower year this year, though.
Yes. Yeah. I think he sits on the bench right now, which you get him on loan. Awesome for Brighton. Lets them save some money for the summer. But, they probably could shoot even higher if they sell like a Caicedo.
Yeah. So, the striker I think they should go for would be Briel Mbolo.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his good. When he plays for Switzerland. I think he's fun to watch. He currently plays at Monaco. Also fairly young, 25 years old. And he's doing pretty well this season. 19 appearances. He's got 10 goals and 2 assists for Monaco.
Yeah, and he's a larger framed number 9 and very good.
But he's quick too. He likes to run at defenders.
Yeah. So he fits right into that Brighton style of play as well. So I think that's a great pick. All right, on to the team that just seems to sign everybody that they want to with no repercussions. Chelsea. They need a striker or a center midfielder.
Definitely a striker.
Yeah. None of their midfield can really stay healthy or perform at this point. So that's why it's on there. But they also have trouble scoring goals. So I understand. I think a Dusan Vlahovic fits their bill perfectly. A big number 9, still young, 22 years old, so fits their transfer policy. Juve's in the crapper right now. They're probably going to have to sell a lot of their players. It just kind of fits.
Well, the good thing with Chelsea is you can name any player under the sun because they'll go out and buy him.
Yep.
So I went with Victor Osimhen, man. I think if Chelsea got him, they would be scary.
Yeah.
He is banging in goals right now for Napoli. He's got 13 goals and 3 assists in 15 games. And he's still young at 24 years old.
Yeah. I don't know. If I'm Victor Osimhen, it's going to be tough for me to leave a Napoli squad that might be the best team in Europe right now.
Well, when you're Todd Bowley and you got that fat paycheck, you can pay him whatever he wants.
That's true.
Sometimes money talks.
Sometimes it does. We will see. I think that's more of a summer signing.
Potentially, yeah.
God, it would take them to.
And he would cost so much. I bet he costs over 100 mil if they go for him.
Easy, yeah. How about midfielders?
So for midfielders, I went with Serge Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio. I think he could be a good signing because he is kind of defensively, but can go offensively as well in the midfield.
Yeah.
So he could kind of help both sides of it.
He reminds me a lot of a slightly older, slightly better Yuri Tielemans, the way that he plays.
Yeah. I would say he's better going forward than Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And probably defensively as well. But, man, I don't know how he still plays for Lazio at this point.
He's not super young, but I would say he's in the prime of his career right now at 27.
Yeah.
And he's got four goals and 8 assists for Lazio this season in 18 appearances.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the guy who has been linked to Chelsea this whole entire window. And they recently have been said to go back in for him in Enzo Fernandez. Todd Bowley wants him. They want to get him. I think at this point they've spent enough money. They don't care. If they have to pay 130 mil and do a little bit of payments, I think they'll pull it off.
See, I don't know why you wouldn't spend 130 mil then on Victor Osimhen. I'd take Victor Osimhen over Enzo Fernandez.
I don't think that's going to stop them from spending 130 mil on Victor Osimhen as well. I mean, by the end of this, I bet they spend $1 billion by the end of the year.
They're already halfway there.
Yeah, over halfway there. And with all their squad healthy, they can get them to play together. That squad looks scary. So, all right, enough talk about Chelsea and Todd Bowley. Let's go to a little harder one to pick. Crystal Palace. Patrick Vieira is doing good things. Needs a little bit of help at the back.
I disagree. I think they need help up top.
Well, then they need help at both ends of the field.
They got good wingers,
I think
they just don't have that clinical finisher, man.
Ben Godfrey from Everton, I think, would be a great pickup for them. Everton's a mess right now. Pretty much a fire sale is what it seems like. Ben Godfrey's been one of their bright lights of the season. I think he'd fit into Patrick Vieira's system perfectly. That's what I think.
So yeah, I think they should go for a striker. Like I said, they got good wingers in Michael Olise and Wilfried Zaha, but they are struggling with Mateta and I think it's Edouard.
Yeah.
As their strikers, they're not putting in goals. So I think they should go for someone who can score goals. I think that someone could be Patrick Bamford from Leeds. He hasn't had the best season this year. He's been hurt. But in the 2021 season, man, in 38 appearances, he has 17 goals and 7 assists. So those are great numbers.
Yeah.
You can keep him healthy.
And you probably get him for pretty cheap right now because he scored 1 goal in 365 days. So,
I mean, he's had 12 appearances, and yeah, he has 1 goal and 1 assist because he's been hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a great pickup for them.
I think he's someone who can hold the ball up and then have Zaha and Olise and Abrici Eze kind of play off him. Yeah,
that would be a great pickup. I gotta agree. They probably need both, to be honest. Whether or not Patrick Vieira picks a center back or a striker is yet to be seen. Or if they're going to sign anybody, they might just wait till the summer. We'll see. Okay, speaking of fire sales, Everton. I think they just need to replace the whole squad.
They need someone.
Right now, they'll probably settle for a winger or a striker. I don't know who they can sign at this point because no one wants to go there with how toxic the entire organization is.
Yeah.
I went way out of the box on this one and maybe going for like Brandon Vasquez from FC Cincinnati, who scored 18 goals last season on loan. Maybe trying to poach someone on the MLS to be like, hey, come try your act in Europe for 6 months and then go back to the MLS in the summer. I had a hard time with this one, I'll be honest. They've been linked to Hakeem Ziyech.
See, I don't think they need a striker either. I think they need someone to create. That's where they're struggling, man. They get to that final third and they just can't create nothing. You know, obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin has not been good this season.
No.
Hopefully he can be better and start putting in some goals because he's getting some chances, but you know, he's not getting a lot of chances. So I think they need someone there to create. I think that player, I think it'd be an amazing signing. I don't think they get him, if I'm being honest. I don't think he leaves his current club, but a great signing would be Julian Brandt from Borussia Dortmund.
He would be a game-changing signing.
I think if Everton want to make a statement of staying in the Premier League, I think they need to go for someone big like that.
Yeah. Anything's possible with the Premier League just because of the status of it.
It's definitely becoming a super league with the amount of money they get.
Yeah. Most people will say you just said the S word that no one wants to hear, but you have a point. I mean, just look at Fulham and the players they've been able to attract in the last couple of years. It's been crazy. Speaking of Fulham, they need what I thought at the time was a center midfielder. They just signed one. I think they need more depth, though, and more quality. I think a Matthias Nunez from Wolves would be a great signing for them. He's only 24 years old. He's more attacking-minded.
I don't think they get him, though.
I mean, the promise of European football might be enough to get him.
He's been linked with Liverpool, I know.
Yeah. But so has every midfielder under the sun that's worth a damn. So, who do you think? I'm interested.
Honestly, I think they should go back to Man United for a midfielder and Fred. They got Andreas Pereira from Man United. He's been doing really well for Fulham.
Oh, yeah. Arguably,
so why not go back for Fred, man?
Okay.
I feel like Fred's not a terrible player. He doesn't get much playing time there at Man United. He's more of a rotation bench, coming off the bench type of player.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to see him at a smaller team versus at Man United.
Yeah, I think you have a great point there. I think Fred, I mean, seeing him play for Brazil is a different thing than seeing him play for Manchester United. You give him a little more freedom and more of a box-to-box, more attacking role. He does much better than the defensive midfielder.
Just being defensive, yeah.
Man United plays him. I think that's a great choice, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't even think that far. Yeah. And they probably get him on loan at this point, honestly. All right. See if you can trump me again. Leicester City, I think they need a striker, but honestly, they could use something at the back and at the front.
Yeah, they really could.
I'm going with a guy who's been linked to just about everybody, but no one seems to be able to sign him. Young Canadian striker in the name of Jonathan David. He's 23 years old, keeps banging in the goals for Lille. No one seems to put in a bid for him. I think Leicester City, if they get him, man, that could change that attack wholeheartedly.
I don't know if they need a striker, man. They still got Jamie Vardy. They got Patson Daka there. I agree with you. I think they need more of a center back or maybe a winger. And so I think they should bring back the kid, man, Harry Maguire. Bring him back. Get him on loan.
Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag said he's fifth choice right now at United, so he's not getting any playing time anytime soon.
Because they just signed a winger on loan, albeit, in Tete.
Mm-hmm.
But I think another good winger that could fit well there at Leicester would be Alan St. Maximin. I think he could be fun. He's not getting a lot of playing time at Newcastle. I don't know if he's happy about that, but maybe get him on loan as well.
Yeah, I think that's more of a wish list signing. I don't think he leaves Newcastle, but man, if he did and went to Leicester City, he's not a finished product. He's not a great finisher, but on the ball, he might be one of the most exciting players in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Lightning in a bottle. You also mentioned on here Brian Gill for Tottenham. I'll be honest with you, he's impressed me this season. Last season, I was not. He was not very good. But this season, he's one of Tottenham's best players, in my opinion.
But he's not getting playing time.
Yeah. That's the point. It's
Yeah, so
surprising.
I think he could be a good player to go to Leicester as well. Get some playing time.
Yeah, he'd be a great signing. The Brian Gill, that, to me, sounds more like a Unai Emery signing at Aston Villa.
Okay.
But just because he used to play for him. But, yeah, I think you're onto something. Brian Gill would be a fantastic pickup for them, especially if they get him on a permanent transfer because he's only 21. Okay. Next up, we got Leeds United. I'm not going to talk much because I'd already put Winston McKennie on here. Called it. It's now official. But you had some other choices which were very interesting. So,
yeah, my first one I think they should have gone for, and I think it's honestly a better midfielder than Weston McKennie, would be Conor Gallagher at Chelsea. I think he wants to fight for his place at Chelsea, but once some of those other players start getting healthy, I don't know how much of a look in he's going to get.
He was fantastic for Crystal Palace last year.
Oh, absolutely fantastic.
So
I think another loan move like that could boost his confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, maybe get back to Chelsea. But, yeah, I think he'd be fantastic signing. I think he needs to leave Chelsea. If I'm being honest.
With all the signings, yeah.
And another midfielder, bring back to the Premier League, would be Jorginho Wijnaldum. He's a PSG player on loan at Roma, but I don't know if Leeds could get him. But I just like him, man. I think he's a fantastic player. I don't know what happened to him at PSG where he just didn't play well or couldn't get a look in.
Didn't get any playing time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really liked him when he played for Liverpool, so I think maybe he needs to come back to the Premier League.
So good. I mean, if you're Liverpool, maybe you think about bringing him back at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, that's another good point, yeah.
But he would be a fantastic addition to Leeds, regardless. I mean, if we're saying he'd be a good addition to Liverpool, he'd be a great addition at Leeds. So, all right. Speaking of Liverpool, they need a midfielder, obviously and clearly, because their midfield is awful right now. I think they should go after Yuri Tielemans. 6 months left on his contract. I mean, he's a world-class player. You probably get him for around $20 million. He's going to last for a while, fits into that Liverpool system, and, he's going to replace maybe a Jordan Henderson, I guess. But he's still 7 years younger.
Yeah. I don't know if he wants to go to Liverpool, though. That's the thing. Looking at that project, maybe. Especially when you're getting linked to different clubs. But I know Yuri Tielemans has come out and said he's not going to leave this January. So I don't think they get him.
There you go.
Obviously, they want Jude Bellingham. I don't think they can't get him in January. He's just too expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit cheaper option, I think, would be a player I'd mentioned previously, would be Serge Milinkovic-Savic. I think he would be a good pickup.
Yeah, I don't know how much cheaper he is, though. He's going to be 40,
he'd probably
50,
be around 60, 70.
I think Liverpool probably only has maybe 15 to 20 to spend right now, by the sounds of it.
So honestly, I don't see Liverpool getting any midfielder, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. That's why I was saying, maybe a Wijnaldum might be a good choice on loan.
I think he would be.
He already knows the system, slots right in. He's, again, another aging midfielder, but you get him on loan.
Doesn't cost you anything.
What's going to hurt? I mean, I know they have, what's his name? He used to play at Barcelona and Juve. He's on loan.
Arthur.
That's it. He'll start with an A. He's coming back, but, I haven't been impressed with him since he left Barcelona anyway, so.
Yeah.
All right, now to the team that spends their money wisely but never runs out of it. Manchester City. With João Cancelo being linked to pretty much everywhere else, I think they need a left back.
I agree with you.
One player they've been linked with, it's been a little bit since they've been linked with him. It's Alex Grimaldo from Benfica. He's only got 6 months left on his contract. They get him for pretty cheap. He is the type of winger that would fit perfectly. He's a little better defensively than Cancelo. I think he'd be a great fit, personally, and would fit right into Pep's plans with low risk, high reward type of signing.
Yeah, I think he would be a great signing for him, if I'm being honest with you. Especially with their kind of transfer business lately of not necessarily overspending on players.
Yeah.
But if they do want to overspend on a player, I got just a left back for him, and Theo Hernandez. Left back for AC Milan, the French international. He's only 25 years old, so he's still pretty young. And we know how good he is going forward.
Yeah.
Showed it for France at the World Cup, and so yeah.
A great signing for them. I don't know if he wants to leave AC Milan.
The way they're playing, maybe.
I was just going to say that. Maybe. But, yeah, I mean, he'd be a great signing. It's going to take a lot to sign him, but, again, money's no problem for Manchester City. Regardless, they need a left back. Either one of those would be great signing for them. I think Theo Hernandez is a little bit better, honestly.
Yeah.
He's one of the best left backs in the world, right behind his brother. Yeah, either one, great signing. Whether or not they actually sign anyone, I don't know.
I don't think they will. It might be in the summer, but not now.
Yeah. Unless they sell somebody, then I think they go. But with Cancelo being linked to AC Milan, I mean, why not just do a straight swap deal?
There you go.
There you go. All right. Team that perennially always needs a striker. Manchester United. They need a striker. Surprise, surprise.
But they got Wout Weghorst.
Yeah. They need somebody different. Wout Weghorst.
They need someone better.
Yeah. They need someone who's going to be more consistent with more longevity.
And someone better.
And someone better. However, they seem to not really have a lot of money to spend. If they had the money to spend, I'd say Goncalo Ramos, which we had said prior, after the World Cup, would be a great signing for them. I still think he would be. However, I don't think they have the money to sign him because I don't think Benfica is going to let him go for cheap at all. That one probably is upwards of 80 million. Another good one is Marcus Thuram for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's got 6 months left on his contract, said to only cost 10 million. They can convince him of the project. I mean, he can play on the wing or at striker. Gives you a little extra depth at striker and for Marcus Rashford. He's a stud. I think he would fit perfectly.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good signing. You won't get any argument from me. Obviously, the player I think they should go for, but they won't in January, would be Harry Kane.
Yeah.
I don't know why they... It's just a match made in heaven, man. But I think if they do go for someone, it'd be that Juve striker, Vlahovic.
Yeah.
Dusan Vlahovic. I think he would be the striker they go for.
Yeah. For me, it's tough. For a Chelsea squad, I think he would fit. He's got a little bit of an attitude, apparently.
There you go. Ten Hag can bust that right out.
Yeah. Chelsea seem to sign players that have attitude, so I think he'd fit in perfectly. Him and Aubameyang go hang out. But, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if Ten Hag can beat the attitude out of him, he'd be a great signing for Manchester United. I know he's regretting not signing for Arsenal last season, but, I mean, what better substitute than Manchester United? All right. Next up, the team that's on the up and up, Newcastle United. I think they need a center midfielder. You think they need a winger. They just signed Anthony Gordon. You still think they need a winger?
I think it would help for depth. And, maybe at this point, maybe a striker. I know Alexander Isaac's been hurt quite a bit. They got Callum Wilson, so maybe not a striker, actually. But, I mean, in midfield, you got Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Willock. So I don't know, they've all been performing well. It's hard to pick someone on a position on that team that hasn't performed well.
I mean, you could probably get an upgrade from Joelinton. Probably.
Yeah. Maybe back up for Almiron.
Yeah, I mean, it would be more of
it's going to be
some more depth or more options as far as formation goes. Because if you can move Willock further forward and play with two more defensive midfielders, then that gives you more options. compared to playing, 3 in the midfield as a diamond. I went with Sandro Tonali from AC Milan. 24 years old. He's won some trophies. He is a defensive midfield powerhouse. Man, I love watching him play. I think he'd be a great fit for Newcastle. Give Bruno Guimaraes a little bit more freedom, because when he's on the ball, Newcastle are fantastic. You can push him a little bit further up the field, Newcastle become a whole different team, in my opinion.
See, I went with a winger. I went with Hakeem Ziyech. I think he'd be a fun one for Newcastle. Like you said, maybe upgrade from Joelinton. He can fight Miguel Almiron for that spot. So I think he'd be a fun one for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably get him on loan for the rest of the season because he's not getting any playing time at Chelsea, especially with their new signings.
Yeah,
Mudryk
that's what I was thinking. I mean, honestly, Chelsea, a lot of those players I think need to either go out on loan or to get sold because Chelsea's going to have to sell some players to balance those books.
Oh, yeah. And at this point in the summer, I think it's going to be a fire sale. I mean, I know a couple players are leaving on freeze because their contracts are up, but that squad's going to need a lot of selling. So why not start now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting into the harder ones. Going towards the bottom of the table, Nottingham Forest. I thought they need a goalkeeper because Dean Henderson just picked up an injury. And I went with a much forgot about stellar goalkeeper who has won everything under the sun in Keylor Navas from PSG.
Yeah, he's not a bad signing. He's playing back up to Donnarumma right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they could get him, that'd be great. I don't know if they can. I don't know how Keylor Navas would feel about going to Nottingham Forest. But, I don't know. It's tough. I think they don't need a goalie. I think they should try to get one maybe in the summer. I would say try to keep Dean Henderson because he's on loan there for Man United. Try to keep him on a permanent.
Yeah.
I think that would be their best option.
Yeah, and I think the only way that
spent
that
a lot of money and
is
brought in a lot of new players.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the most signings, surprisingly, after all that Chelsea signed.
Yeah.
I think the only way they keep Dean Henderson is if they stay up. I mean, it's looking more and more likely.
Yeah.
But getting maybe, Keylor Navas or, any top-rate goalie on loan for the rest of the season. I mean, I think Navas just wants to play at this point. He can cover his wages. I don't think he cares. But, I mean, there's a lot of good goalies out there.
Who is their backup? I think is it Wayne Hennessy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I can't remember who their backup is, but I remember seeing it. It's not a terrible backup, so I would say stick with them.
Yeah, depending on how long Dean Henderson is out. I mean, if it's a couple months, you definitely need another goalie. There's still plenty of time to get a loan in. So we'll see what the end of the transfer window holds. They seem to be signing players left and right, so time will tell. Okay. Southampton. Bottom of the table. I think they need a striker. What do you think?
Yeah, they need someone to score goals. Shea Adams is not the answer.
No. I went with a player who has really impressed at World Cups, but kind of gets forgot about, and Andre Kramaric from Hoffenheim. I'm surprised no one's really picked him up from Hoffenheim at this point. But I think he'd be a great signing. He's 31, so give him one last payday. I think he signs no problem.
I don't know. That would be an interesting one. I feel like that could be a hit or bust.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Southampton, you got to try something at this point to stay up. Everton's in a free fall, so you got a chance. Might as well do it now and capitalize.
Kind of a couple different strikers there. I think their wish list would be Moussa Dembele. If they could get him, I think that would be a steal and fantastic for them. It'd be tough, but I think a more realistic option could also be Patrick Bamford, someone who's Premier League proven. Again, previous season had a fantastic season and could help keep them up. Yeah,
I mean, before he signed for West Ham, from Aston Villa. I probably would have said a return of Danny Ings.
Yeah.
Would have been best, but it's too late now. I don't see anybody from the Premier League going on loan there, so I mean Bamford might be a good choice. But yeah, anybody from outside of England who hasn't played in the Premier League probably would be a good choice. Okay. To a team who has surprised us and signed 2 players in this last week, but doesn't usually sign players in a January transfer window. Tottenham. I know they need a new goalie. Hugo Lloris, I think, is done there. But they also need an attacking midfielder because they still haven't replaced Christian Eriksen since he was at the club. Player that's been linked to them who recently turned down a move to Bournemouth is Nicolo Zaniolo from Roma. He's on the transfer list. It's only $30 million. Why not?
He played today, though. Or he played against Napoli when Roma played Napoli.
He did. I mean, he's one of the better players for Roma, but they've already stated that they want him gone before the end of the transfer window. It just fits for me.
I don't know, though. I don't think then he would have played against Napoli on the 29th.
I'm just going with what Jose Mourinho has said.
But I know Jose, if a player wants to leave, he won't play him.
Yep. So, I mean, time will tell. He rejected a contract from Bournemouth. He's waiting for AC Milan, apparently, or Tottenham to come in and sign him.
I think they need a goalie.
Contract's up in the summer, so he's going to leave regardless.
I think they need a goalie. And who better than one of the stellar performers at the World Cup in Dominik Livakovic. 28 years old, so he's not super young, but he's a goalie, so you'll get a good 4 or 5 years out of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, coming from Dinamo Zagreb, I think personally that might be a good deal for them. Kind of goes out of the realm of what they tend to like to go for, which is younger, up-and-coming talent.
But with goalies, they can play
if you want someone
35.
who's going to come in and replace Hugo Lloris right now, I don't know if there's a better signing. Especially for the price point you probably get him at.
Yeah, if you want to go for a little bit younger goalie, I was thinking maybe the Leeds United goalie, Ilan Meslier. He's only 22.
Yeah, he'd be good. But like you've said previously, I mean, David Raya, I don't think he leaves Brentford right now.
No.
Robert Sanchez, I don't think he leaves Brighton right now. But they would both be fantastic pickups, especially come the summer. All right. West Ham United, fresh off their win against Everton, trying to climb their way out of the relegation zone. Again, I think they need a center back. How about you?
You know, I did agree with you until I remembered about Ogbonna and Kurt Zuma coming back. I mean, those are going to feel like 2 new signings for them, and it's 2 center backs.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, I think maybe they need a midfielder.
Okay. Any ideas? Maybe Fred?
Again, I hate going back to Chelsea, but do you remember when Jesse Lingard went to West Ham and he flew there?
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe a Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount.
Yeah,
I don't think Mason Mount would want to go to West Ham.
I mean, his best friend is Declan Rice, Mason Mount. I mean, that's all you need is Agent Declan right there.
But man, I think they could be really good at West Ham, kind of like how Jesse Lingard was.
Yeah.
Or maybe you get Jesse Lingard and try to bring him back. Probably not, but
they probably could at this point. He's not doing great.
They could, but I don't think they should.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I had a center back for them as well. But I also saw that, Zuma was coming back and getting 2 center backs in a transfer window back from injury is like having a new signing.
Yeah.
So I think you might be onto something with Conor Gallagher or Mason Mount. I think Mason Mount probably is the more likely of the 2 to leave because Gallagher's been playing more. Probably could get Mason Mount on loan to get his wages off the books.
His contract's also up here at the end of the summer.
Well, there you go. You can get him for decently cheap. Sign him before Liverpool wants him. That would be a great signing for West Ham. So, all right. Last on the list, Wolverhampton Wanderers. They need a striker.
Yeah, they do.
You're probably going to say someone Portuguese because that's who they tend to go for.
You only know that, yeah. You already know that.
I already know that. But if I didn't, I still would have said it. I went with two players that kind of fly under the radar. Luis Enrique for Real Betis. He's 20 years old. He's been linked with Wolves. He's been on fire this season. Kind of came out of nowhere. He's going to cost them a pretty penny, but at this point, if you're Wolves, pretty penny to stay up. I'd take it. Or a Tim Weah from Lille. He gives them a little bit extra, something they don't have. And I would love to see see Tim Weah right now in the Premier League.
I would say Tim Weah is any more of a winger, though.
Also plays striker, but yes, you're right.
Yeah, so those are two good ones. I think, obviously, who would be at the top of their wish list for Wolves would be Goncalo Ramos, the Portuguese forward who plays at Benfica, but I think he's too expensive, and Wolves get priced out of that.
Yeah.
So maybe a Luka Jovic.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, got the big money move to Real Madrid from, I think it was Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And he's now at Fiorentina. And he hasn't been playing fantastic, don't get me wrong. He's 17 appearances, he's got 3 goals. But big name signing. I'd be curious to see how he would do in the Premier League.
Yeah. I would be fascinated with how he does in the Premier League. I think that's not a bad way to go. I
think he'd either be a hit or a massive disappointment.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be any between.
But at this point, if you're Wolves, if he's a massive disappointment, cool. You bench him. No big deal. But you do need someone to kind of change things up a little bit going forward. So you're right. Goncalo Ramos would probably be the top of their wish list again. Unless they make it into the European places, I don't think that they can afford him. But who knows? I've seen them spend a lot of money. They took them not even 3 days to buy Matthias Cunha on loan.
Yeah, maybe he's their signing that they need.
Both are great options. Any one of these 4 probably makes them better. But
yeah.
Yeah. Time will tell with them. I don't think they sign anybody personally, but we'll see. But yeah, that's all 20 teams, and that's all that I got for today.
Yeah, that brings us to today's episode. We appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to check us out on our socials, Instagram, TikTok, at Brews and Banter FC. Join our Facebook group, get in on the conversation. Check us out on YouTube, obviously available on all podcast platforms. And yeah, make sure you check out our Redbubble, get the merch. Help us keep doing what we're doing. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. And as always, cheers.